Another explosive update from the facility. The 49ers are officially evaluating a potential Fred Warner playoff return. John Lynch today spoke on KMBR and gave his most optimistic appraisal of the situation yet, suggesting that Fred Warner can actually move the prognosis of doctors based on the amazing progress that he's making in his recovery from a fractured and a dislocated ankle. I'll give you the John Lynch audio in a few seconds, but first, have to give you the practice update. Ricky Pearsall was back out there. He's officially questionable, but trending toward playing. No George Kittle, but they're going to take that up through this weekend, at least until tomorrow. Kyle Shanahan said that George is going to let him know whether or not he feels healthy enough to play, and not just play, but also effectively contribute for the 49ers tomorrow. But here's the John Lynch audio from KMBR on Fred Warner. Have a listen.
Well, here's what I would say first. We're really focused on the Bears right now, and that's because we need to continue to improve as a team. We need to continue to sharpen our edge and our as we get going into these playoffs, and we need to. Right now, we're playing for seeding and all that to try to make the path a little bit more favorable for us. So. But what I can tell you is Fred's been working incredibly hard. He's been attacking it in every which way, and he's making really good progress. I've said this consistently. It would be well ahead of the original timeline that we were given, but Fred is kind of even, has the ability to move the doctors because they're going to put objective measurements out there where, hey, well, if you can reach these, you can get there, and Fred has continually done that. I think it's made a lot of people kind of re-examine, okay, would this be possible? And I think that's a great thing. So I'm watching him. I've consistently said it. I won't put anything past him, and I think it's a thing that will remain to be seen. But I know he's putting his heart and soul and his incredible work ethic to work every single day in an effort to do that.
So that is the full John Lynch prognosis on Fred Warner. You can see some fans running behind me. I think Eddie Pinheiro is leaving the building. They're trying to get an autograph. Yeah, they're yelling Eddie. The 49ers players leave for the weekend. They get a home game. They want more home games, and they could potentially get all home games here at Levi's Stadium from now until they hold a Super Bowl trophy, as long as they keep on winning. And wouldn't be something if Fred Warner returned to the 49ers for a playoff run, or even if he just returned for the Super Bowl, if they can make it that far here at Levi's. I think this stadium would be louder than it has ever been before, but that was definitely the most optimistic that Lynch has been. I mean, he straight up said that the 49ers are now evaluating a potential playoff return. Other news for this game on Sunday against the Chicago Bears, who will not have Rome Odunze, one of their top wide receivers. The 49ers will be without Renardo Green. Second straight week, he's out with a neck injury. That is their cornerback 2. Darrell Luter Jr. is going to start in place of Green again. And Luter was really good last week. I think Luter gets a bad rap last week because he gave up a touchdown and he gave up a big pass before halftime. The touchdown really wasn't his fault to Alec Pierce. There should have been safety help there. That was part of the schematic trouble that the 49ers were having because they were so geared up on the short game, and Phillip Rivers was attacking them over the top on the first 2 drives. So without safety help, any cornerback would have struggled in that particular spot, and then the pass interference was a bad call. I think that was good coverage. I don't think that was a flag at all. Should have been a flag at all on Darrell Luter Jr. What he did do is he was a stud against the run. The Colts had an awesome run game. Twice he stopped runs that could have gone for 50 plus with his run support on the outside, and that's exactly what I said entering the game, that Darrell Luter Jr. was graded as one of the top 3 run defending corners in football, that he'd probably be a very good matchup for the 49ers against a good rushing team in the Colts. That did happen, and guess who's coming here to Levi's Stadium next? The Chicago Bears, who've got 2 really, really good backs who can, I think, run you out of the building if you're not careful, out of your own building. We saw them do that to the Philadelphia Eagles with Monangai and with DeAndre Swift. So maybe having a good corner against the run, a big physical guy like Darrell Luter Jr. will pay off again for the 49ers They definitely have some depth at that position. It came in handy last week, and I think it should come in handy against the Chicago Bears this weekend.
I thought he's done a real good job. I thought he played really well. I know they got him on those PI calls, and I thought one of them, I thought I probably disagreed with one of them. I thought it was pretty good coverage. And I thought he did real well in the run game. He has 2 big runs that got to the corner that if you don't make that tackle, we had a really good run night, but you just did 2 runs get past him. They probably have 2 more carries for about 55 yards, and that changes the whole game. So I thought he was a stud, and very similar how he played versus Jacksonville when he came in.
As far as George Kittle goes, tomorrow's probably going to be the big inflection point, so we'll have updates throughout the weekend.
Well, I think that's always a part of the equation with all of our players, is particularly with a player like George, who's so valuable to us. Of course you want George out there, and of course this is a huge game against the Bears. He had it stacked up against him, in that it was a Monday night game on the eastern side of our country, so you're flying back. You're not getting back till 3:30. The clock is just shorter, the amount of time you have to get back on the field. I think the things we have going for us, it wasn't the dreaded high ankle sprain. It was a low ankle sprain. And George is recovering really well. Is he going to get there? We don't know. And this is, it's one of those things. He'll take it right up. George is the type of player that you probably give him that latitude where, hey, we'll give you all the way up to the game. The other thing that we feel really good about is that we're well equipped in the event where we don't have George. Will we be the same team? No, we're different with George out there. But Luke Farrell's a really good football player. We've seen what Jake Tonjes can do when George is out, and so Braden Willis would then be up. So we'll see where this thing goes. George is doing everything he can, just like Fred, to try to be out there for this Bears game, and that will be one that will go right down till Sunday evening.
But as long as you have one of Kittle or Pearsall, I think that you'll have enough to fire on all cylinders offensively, and the 49ers have been the best offense in the entire NFL since Brock Purdy returned. You can see in obvious passing situations, Purdy, I've showed you a ton of these graphs over the course of the past few days. This one of the more staggering ones, Purdy, upper right. These are obvious passing situations. This is where the quarterback cannot have his hand held. And Brock Purdy has dominated. Now, of course, if he doesn't have George Kittle, that hurts the cause. But I think that part of the issue this year has been separation. Without the wide receiver separation with Pearsall and those guys out for so many games, the 49ers have been able to make up for it with adaptability and good QB skill, along with Kyle Shanahan's play calling from Kittle and McCaffrey. If you don't have George Kittle, then you're going to need your top available receiver, and that is Ricky Pearsall. So that would be big for the 49ers to get him back this weekend. Did you hear about the Raiders news with Maxx Crosby? Apparently, he stormed out of the building today. He was upset after the Raiders told him they're going to shut him down for the final 2 games of this season because he's been playing through an injury, and the Raiders absolutely suck. They want to preserve Maxx Crosby's health. He's a Warrior. He wants to keep on playing. He vehemently disagreed with their decision, and Jay Glazer reported that he stormed out of the building, and it has a lot of people wondering if the Raiders will finally actually move on from Maxx Crosby. He always seems to be in off-season trade rumors. It's really interesting because the contract that they signed Crosby to in the offseason is relatively easy to get out of. Has only a $10.2 million signing bonus, which is relatively small, and they only prorated it against the cap over 2 years, which means that anybody who potentially trades for Maxx Crosby, if the Raiders are willing to trade him, would be picking up a clean contract that's just straightforward with base salary plus a per-game roster bonus worth about $28 million annually, under contract 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. 4 more years of team control. And Crosby, this has not been a fun year for the Raiders. His production has gone down, but you have to believe that setting is not very inspiring in Las Vegas. So the Raiders have historically not liked trading with the 49ers, but in this Crosby situation, it's worth watching just from an NFL-wide lens. Where does this guy end up? Really rubbery pass rusher. Unlikely, of course, that Mark Davis is willing to deal with the 49ers if he does want to deal Maxx Crosby, but I know that this is big news, and I know that 49ers fans will be asking about it. I always just talk about Khalil Mack in 2018. Raiders traded him, but the 49ers offered more than the Chicago Bears. That's a team that San Francisco is going to play on Sunday. The 49ers offered more, but the Raiders still decided not to trade with them. So if that doesn't tell you where Mark Davis stands as far as the 49ers, then I don't know what else to say. The Raiders just do not like doing business with San Francisco. Let's step into the 49ers locker room on this beautiful Friday. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. Now you could hear from Kendrick Bourne, Trent Williams from San Francisco's locker room ahead of their showdown against the Chicago Bears.
Me personally, I've improved a lot. Just gotten more comfortable with the system. Settling in has been dope. So just understanding what's happening, how the line's moving, being in sync with the line and the back, how he's tracking and stuff like that. So sometimes we're at the point of attack at receiver and like we're the last line of defense. So if CMC cuts it all the way back in your backside, you gotta be running, you gotta be moving. You can't take plays off. So I think as a group, we're doing a good job. And personally, I've gotten more comfortable.
You have a unique perspective in that you were here earlier, and 5 years later, how much has the system evolved, especially from the wide receiver's perspective?
A lot. It's very similar, but you could just tell the experience with a group, guys being together. There's guys here that I wasn't with, but you can tell that they understand what's happening, and just being on the same page is important. And you see that we run the ball better. You see that we got better movement and everything. So just everything being in sync, but it's very similar, but improved a lot since I was here.
You didn't get the whole offseason to get on the same page with Brock. How much better would you say your chemistry is with him today than it was in September?
Yeah, it's a lot better. Just growing with him off the field has been important. Just trying to learn him as a person. I think that's been dope. We've been hanging a lot out in chapel and stuff like that. And so just a natural connection, off the field, I think creates that. I never try to be the guy that try to pressure anybody into throwing me the ball or like forcing anything. What's for me is for me, what's not is not. So I think that relationship has been great so far, and it's growing. So it's just a process every week, every day at practice, and it's been getting better. Thanks, Scott.
Coach said the Bears defense is pretty solid. Mm-hmm. How can you exploit that defense?
Yeah, no, they're sound. They just been playing the right way. As a whole team, they're playing complementary football, so just not letting them get momentum. Once they're into it, once they're feeling themselves, that's when they're a good team. But if we can just play hard, kind of like we did last week, we came out with good energy. We were attacking. I think that's how we have to play, just in attack mode, so we can attack what they're weak at.
Their corners seem to have really good ball skills, like catching the ball. There's a lot of, almost like receivers at times. When you're watching a team's corner as a receiver and you see that on tape, is that something that you take note of as a
Yeah, you just be aware, of what they're doing. They're very lanky, and they paid their guy over there too, number one. So they got some good guys they trust. The safeties are good too. They got Gardner Johnson over there, so they got some good guys. But they're just rangy, so we gotta just attacking the ball, using our hands, not letting the ball come into our bodies and stuff like that. So just little things at receiver that we do every day, but just focusing on what matters in every moment and making every play that we can.
A lot to play for, a lot on the line, but still got to take it 1 week at a time.
What is, I guess, just playing at Levi's Stadium, what kind of comfort level is there with your team and the hopes of doing that all the way on out?
I think it's with every team. Home is where the heart is, right? So, yeah, I think anytime you play in front of your home fans, that's always something you should take advantage of. Especially with us, we have the best fan group in sports, period. So, anytime we can bring somebody to our stadium, I think we have an advantage.
Do the past playoff wins here kind of give you a little bit more, I don't want to say comfort, but like more confidence?
I don't know. I'm going to say all that. It is a really good feeling to have home field advantage in the playoffs. I think it does. Everybody that was here in 23, I know they can remember, how to roar, the crowd, and just that atmosphere of playoff football here is different.
What do you think 2 buys could do for this team physically? Like one in early December and potentially one in early January. Do you think that could be beneficial?
Yeah. Anytime you can get some time to just heal and rehab and recover, I think it's very, very beneficial, especially later in the year. Right? So we were able to go through how hard it is to go 14 weeks without a bye, and then we're able to reap the benefits of getting a bye in early December and getting one late in the season. So, I definitely think it will come with benefits, and just being able to get players who got little knickknacks and guys dealing with injuries and stuff, be able to give them extra time to get back.
Moving up that Pro Bowl list, does that mean a lot to you where you are?
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely with me breaking the four-way tie with Rowe, Munoz, and Ogden for tackles. Yeah, I think that's been my goal for, I wouldn't say my whole career, but for the last 6-7 years, that's been one of the things I circled. Like, I definitely want to be standing at the top of the offensive tackle rankings, but I don't know, catching Bruce Matthews may be. I'm not gonna rule it out, but yeah, that's for for overall number one. But that's a feat in itself. I don't know if I got that, but I'll try.
With how the offense is playing right now, what lends itself to clicking at the right time at this stage in the season?
We're experienced, right? It's the same group, give or take a couple people. I mean, KB don't even count because he was born. I'm not born here, but was basically developed here. Really, really familiar with this team. So, we only got a couple people who wasn't here during that playoff run. So we're pretty experienced on the offensive side of the ball. I think it shows sometimes we can get everything going in the right direction.
Do a couple more.
How are you feeling now, end of December? Is this time of year typically harder for you? Just the kind of accumulation of issues that pile up?
No, you would think so, but actually it's not. When around this time of year, the practices aren't as intense, aren't as hard, aren't as physical, and so you got a lot more time to recover during the week. 80% of getting through game day is adrenaline anyway, right? So, the game is sore for a couple of days, but that kind of subsides really quick. I think it's just every day coming here and competing at a high level, just taking your body through the ringer day in, day out. I think that kind of weighs on you, but you got to have it to, what Cal say, callous, the callous up, and to be able to get to this point where you can go and play a game and not walk around like a cripple for the next 3 or 4 days.
Do you guys feel better calloused up at this point?
I can't say that. Everybody's played the same amount of football at this point, so I wouldn't say that we have an advantage when it comes to that. I just think, the way we go about business, the way we play, the physicality of it all, you gotta callous up, right? Because that's not normal to put your body through that week in, week out, and then have to be at your best at the latest, right? When you're in the playoffs and fighting for that ultimate goal.